If you have a Tesla or you want a Tesla, I'm sure you've been curious if you can just throw a new battery pack in the trunk and increase your range, or maybe even put some solar panels on the roof and link it straight up to your battery so you can charge while driving. And this video is going to explain if that's actually possible, and I think it is. So in this video, I'm going to briefly go over the high voltage system in Teslas, and this goes for just about every Tesla, and I'll leave detailed videos in the description below. So here's the layout of the entire Tesla high voltage system, and again, this is going to be for every Tesla car. Of course, there's going to be variations depending on what model you have, what battery pack you have, if you have the front and the rear drive unit or just the rear one. This is sort of a summarization of a really high quality hour-long video that I'll leave linked in the description below. So if you really want to know the details of the system, I highly recommend that you watch that video. But first, I want to give a background of how the system works before I explain my idea, so I'll show you that now. The first step in the high voltage system is the charger, and the charger can either take AC power or DC power. The supercharger stations use DC power, and that actually goes directly through the onboard charger and straight into the battery pack and the drive unit and everything like that. There is no, from what I understand, there is no fusing or anything like that from the supercharger DC power to the battery pack, and that's really important to note here. So you get 400 volts of DC power coming straight into the car. There is like a little sensor for switching on the connection to the DC power in this onboard charger, but again, from what I understand, there's no fusing or anything for straight DC charging. AC charging, on the other hand, is a little bit more complicated. So if you take AC power through the charger, you have to go into this onboard charger, and there's this, conversion system that converts the AC power to 400 volt DC output. So this is pretty complicated. The AC power is pretty high voltage, and you're outputting pretty high voltage DC power. So this wastes some heat energy, and it's a point of failure as well. But that's what the onboard charger does, is it just takes the AC power from the charger and converts it to DC power. So this then goes underneath the rear seat. So this cable goes under the rear seat, and it's 400 volts DC going into this thing called a rapid splitter. And literally all this is a splitter. There's no fuses, no electronics. It's basically just a junction box. And then this goes straight into the battery packs. Now the battery packs themselves do have some charging circuitry to regulate the voltage on each of the cells and to sort of sense the voltage on each of the cells. But that 400 volts of DC power does just go straight into the battery pack. And this is actually a plug that plugs straight into the whole pack. There is no wiring that goes from the rapid splitter to the pack. So then from the rapid splitter, of course, when you're charging, this just goes straight to the battery. But when you're driving the car, the battery is, releasing current into the system to the rear drive unit, the front drive unit, and any other power accessories. So 2 bulky cables from the rapid splitter go to the inverter on the rear drive unit, and then that powers the rear drive unit. That's pretty straightforward. Of course, we have to be able to send voltage backwards as well from the regenerative braking. So at any moment, you could have DC voltage going to the rear drive unit inverter or from the rear drive unit inverter to the battery pack. And that's also important to know for the idea that I'm going to propose. So then the other bulky cables from this rapid splitter go to the front of the vehicle, and there's this high power distribution box or junction module, whatever you want to call it. And this is very difficult to access. It's hidden behind the battery pack, so you have to actually take out the battery pack to get to this distribution box. But basically you have 4 outputs plus an output for the front drive unit and inverter if you have a 4 all-wheel drive car. I actually think this distribution box is located in different places depending on which vehicle you have, so some vehicles might have this more accessible than other vehicles. But anyway, it has 4 main high voltage outputs. One goes to the air conditioning, one goes to a DC to DC converter, so if you need to step down the DC voltage for other electronics in the car, maybe charging the 12-volt battery or something along those lines, that's what you would use. Then you have a battery heater, so this is actually heating the coolant that goes around the battery pack. And then you have a cabin heater that's heating the air inside of the cabin. So these are actually 2 separate things, which is kind of interesting. So the high voltage system is not very complicated. There's not many, large parts going on. Of course, I wouldn't trust myself to work on the high voltage system just knowing this information, and I don't think anybody should be working on the high voltage system only knowing this information. You really need to have specific training for high voltage applications, or you could really hurt yourself or very easily damage the car. That being said, I have a really stupid idea that I think might be possible. So if you want to add sort of range to the vehicle, or you want to charge the vehicle directly, why couldn't you just tap in to this 400 volt DC line and charge the car while driving, or charge the car while stationary, or have an extra battery pack linked in? I don't understand why you can't do that. It's not a rhetorical question. I don't understand why you can't just tap into this 400 volt DC line and charge the car whenever you want. I don't have a degree in electrical engineering or anything like that, so I don't really know any reason why you wouldn't be able to do that. Because you think about it, the rear drive unit and inverter, while you're driving, can at any time be drawing power or returning power to the system. And when you're using regenerative braking, that's, recharging the batteries at a current that's close to the supercharging speed. I think it's about half of the supercharging speed. The regenerative braking can supply enough current that's about half of the supercharging speed, somewhere around there. So why can't you at any time just trickle in, probably start out with low current, but at 400 volts into the system and see if you can charge the car while driving? There's a really popular video by Warped Perception that kind of drives me crazy because he puts a gasoline and a diesel engine on the back of his Model S. I'll link the video in the description below. And he claims that he can get like 500 miles of range by having this sort of pseudo hybrid Tesla. But he never goes into how he actually charges the car while driving. And I've read on forums and even in the comments of his video, people are saying, he's lying and he's not actually charging the car while driving. You can see in this frame or whatever that it's not actually connected to anything. And maybe they're right. Maybe he isn't charging the car while driving and maybe the video is faked. But I think it would be possible to charge the car while driving. I think, and I really, really want to do this. So if you want to see me completely destroy my Tesla, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, all of that. But it does feel kind of stupid if Warped Perception would go through all of the effort to, mount the engine and everything. And he does a really good job. He's a really good fabricator. And then have it actually not be functional. Like, I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, I guess you can charge while the car is stationary, but he has the engine on while he's driving, which doesn't make any sense to me. So, I think it's possible to charge the Tesla while driving or to add extra battery packs. But no one's done it. I haven't seen anybody doing it. So please tell me in the comments why you can't do this or why you can do this, or if I'm going to ruin my car trying to do something like this. Thanks everybody for watching. I really want to crowdsource this idea, so if you have any feedback or comments or criticisms, or you just think I'm dumb, please leave a comment down below, like the video, and if I do actually end up trying out any of these ideas, I'll post it on this channel, so be sure to subscribe to follow along for more. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.